This is a short video on some of the processes that we went through to make my special screws for my friend. And I'm showing some of the steps here to make some of the special screws that we went through in order to make this happen. We have a couple of setup tools here. This is overboard. That's funny. It's overboard. It's approximately a half-inch deep. This is so that we get a consistent setting when we set the blank into the 5C collet. Now, we're setting it this way with a setup tool instead of using a stop this way in the 5C collet, because the blanks that we cut off are not always the same length. And so if you are not always consistent, then it's going to cause problems. So from this side going this way, we were always consistent. The screws might have ended up just a little bit short from their spec, but at least they're consistent from screw to screw. So that's why we went this way instead of the bar going this way with the depth stop. Had the lengths been all perfectly matched, then we could have gone with the depth stop this way. But you can't always go with a stop this way. Sometimes you have to go this way. So in our situation here, we made up a tool. It was quick, it was easy, and you can see the blank fits right in there. And this is what the 5C collet would hold on to, and the rest is going to be machine worked. Now, of course, most of our blanks weren't this long. They were about an inch long, but our repeatability on our blank length wasn't very good, so I opted to go this way, and it worked out. Here we have what you'd consider a master. It's not perfect, but it's here to give us an idea of where to register the cutting tools to these diameters. In setting up, it takes a while to get your cutter completely set up, so having a setup tool is helpful. So what do we have here? We have the native material, 304 stainless steel, 9/16 as a rod, and our first operation is to part the rod off into blanks. And we have a little blank here. The actual blank would be about twice that size, but that's just an example. The next step, of course, is drilling. So we have all of the blanks. We have to drill them out, which is painful. Then we're actually showing, this is actually 2 steps. So mind you, per batch, each one of these steps has to be done per batch. So if you have 30 parts, you have 30 of these that you're drilling, you have 30 of these that you're cutting. This would be 60 steps here, because you have one setup to take off this major diameter down to this shoulder here, and then you have another operation which requires a retooling reset for this second shoulder. So there's actually multiple steps in this example here. Then you have setting up for the head angle, so that's a setup. And next we have threading, so there's a rough thread on there. Then after threading, we're still kind of ragged from the end here, so we have end cut. And after we end cut, we have to end polish, because the thread is going to be torn. And then after the threads and the screw profile are essentially set up, we need to part off the screw. So we have a parted off screw here. which is very groovy. And then we have a screw that's essentially rough, that's bored out. So we went from here, and then we well, the boring it's all boring, but these start out at 0.25 and they end up at 0.26, so they get bored at some point. I guess they're all bored right now, but so we have some head work we're doing here. So we have the head is cleaned up. We take the tang off here, and we have to clean up the head. Then we have a slotting operation. Now it can either be slotted first or it can be chamfered first. Either, I didn't care, but this one is slotted, and then it's slotted and chamfered and polished. So you see this one's rough. You can see lines in there. Maybe you can't see the lines, but you can see tool marks, very deep tool marks. And so this one has been tuned up. So you can see the tool marks have been reduced, and the head is been stoned so that it's not sharp, it's not going to cut you. And the screw has been not polished, but the deburred. So there's multiple deburr steps along the way as well. So there you have it. It's a very basic rundown. There's probably twice as many steps as you see here, but that's essentially the process from going from a solid blank down to the finished product.